Welcome to the HR Legal Lowdown, where we take a moment out of our day to talk about some hot topics in employment law. Today I'm joined by Nicola Prestia, partner at HR Legal, and we are going to be talking about when an employer can issue a lawful and reasonable direction. So Nicola, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Tell us, what's the go with employees following directions?
Yes, so in the Australian employment law context, employers do have the right to issue employees with reasonable and lawful directions, and it is expected that employees will follow that. But really, what is reasonable is how long is a piece of string? There's no definition as to what is reasonable, thanks to our Parliament. They didn't include anything like that in the Fair Work Act. So it is really based in context and will depend on the circumstances. So, for example, is the direction within the scope of the employee's role? Is it something that they have the skills and capability to do? Is it in accordance with workplace norms or the employee's contract? Now, in respect of what is lawful, of course, if there's a law that prevents certain conduct or restricts the action from being taken in that sense, then yes, it's not going to be lawful, but it will always be based in context as to whether a direction is lawful and reasonable.
Well, that makes sense, but could you give us an example of what a lawful and reasonable direction might be, please?
Sure. So asking an employee to perform a task that is within the scope of their role or something that they're required to do as part of their contract, or to provide medical advice, like a medical certificate in the event that they're unwell or we're concerned about their fitness for work. During COVID, we saw a lot of lawful and reasonable directions being made in respect of vaccinations and temperature checks and making sure that people were fit for work as well. I'm so sorry to trigger anyone with COVID-related talk.
Lockdowns coming back to mind.
We did see a lot of directions in that respect, and provided that they were proportionate and in line with safety obligations, they are also lawful and reasonable.
Right. So what would an employer do if an employee refused such a direction?
So if a direction is lawful and reasonable, and an employee refuses to follow that direction without a proper reason, then they could be subject to disciplinary action. It becomes a disciplinary matter. So that could be warnings or even termination of employment in serious cases. Obviously, you want to make sure that you follow a fair process though, so it is a good idea for employers to get advice if they're going down that path.
Yes, and you touched on COVID yourself, so I might mention it again in respect to health information and obviously other privacy aspects that people might keep on file. So what can you tell us about that when the direction touches private information or health records?
So we do get a lot of clients asking us, we're concerned about this employee's health and well-being. Can we send them to a medical assessment, or can we ask for further details about what's going on for them? And generally speaking, provided that the request for information goes no further than establishing their fitness for work, and it is reasonable in the circumstances and of course lawful, then an employer does have the right to ask for that further information. Of course, it must be kept sensitively and confidentially, so it shouldn't be shared beyond those who need to know. And the expectations as to confidentiality should also be managed with the employee. But just because it relates to confidential information doesn't mean that it won't be a reasonable direction to ask them to provide that.
Well, that makes sense. So summing up, directions must be grounded in contract and context, and if they're lawful and reasonable, employees should comply.
Exactly. And look, if you're ever unsure, that's exactly what HR Legal is here for. Give us a call and we can assist in objectively reviewing whether your directions are lawful and reasonable and what options you may have available.
Wonderful. So thanks for your time today, Nicola. I'm Alex Harvey, Community Engagement Manager at HR Legal. Should you need us, give us a call. And if you'd like to see more content like this, perhaps you could suggest a topic that you'd like for us to cover. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.